Welcome to the Slade experiment. We're into 2024. Oh my God, how time flies. The second week of the month, the second week of the year. Next thing you know, it'll be February, then it'll be summer, then it'll be fall, then it'll be 2030. Ugh. It's the older you get, the faster it goes. There's scientific papers on it. I toast again to everyone who watched the special trailer. Thank you very much. Some of you watched it on here. Some of you watched it on YouTube by itself. Some of you watched it on the Improv's website. All of that in service of my show, January 10th. If you're seeing this, you still got time to get to it. I'm at the Houston Improv, one show only. I'm doing all new material. I'm a little nervous about it. Not in a bad way, but in the same way I get nervy. I do these shows at the Improv. We've talked about them on the show before. They're all new material or revisited material. It's stuff I haven't done in a long time or ever. So there's just some nerves. It's a good lineup. Paul Lodo's on the show. Trey Tutson's on the show. Tickets are cheap. improvtx.com. I'm drinking out of my Japanese teacup tonight. I am toasting with a teacup to the passing of my coffee cup. I think our subconscious brains are crazy things, right? They run. I've been thinking, I've talked about it on here, some of the decisions I've made in the last year or two. And some of the ones that I made that I don't know, I feel like I might have had some subconscious input into. That what I really wanted fought its way out and made me do things, if that makes any sense. Here's today's example. I've had a coffee cup that I've been drinking out of for probably 15 years. It's a safe bet. It's a Maui Starbucks coffee cup. It was given to me by a friend 15 years ago. I haven't talked to this friend in years. There's no sentimental value to the cup, is my point. It is just my cup. We bonded. It's the right size. It's big. It's all the things. It works. I'm used to it. Then for Christmas, I was given 2 new coffee cups, both of which have some sentimental value. Gifts from people close to me. And one of them from my mom. And both of them, I mean, man, these are lovely. But when am I really going to use them? Because I use that same cup every day. And I just rinse it out, man. I wash it in the morning. I make some more coffee. It goes in the sink. I wake up the next morning. I wash it again. There's a cycle. Anyway, this morning, I wake up. I'm making coffee. And my arm just thunked it off the counter. Right in front of my face. I wasn't really reaching for anything. I was doing stuff. Kind of in that road hypnosis sort of mode. And I just thunk like a cat testing your patience. You see me? I knocked it right off the counter. And now I get to use the coffee mugs that have some meaning. I think that's important. So thank subconscious me for stepping in and doing what regular me couldn't do and chunking that coffee cup. Why are we get so attached to our habits, our patterns of doing stuff? I don't want to do anything different. Why not? Because it's different. Well, so what does that mean? Change is scary of any sort. We don't like it. We should be more open to it. Our bodies are naturally, I think, programmed to notice it and not like it. Means we got to do stuff. We use this as a springboard to some other stories. The road I'm going down, right? This internal struggle I've been having with what stand-up comedian means to me, right? What storyteller means to me, what my career actually is, what I'm chasing, what I still value, what part of my 25-year-ago dream still has merit, right? And we don't test that when was the last time we talk about this? When was the last time you stress tested any of your beliefs? It's important. So I'm stress testing this one. And I'm realizing that I'm actually good at this sort of thing. Reinventing myself. Not full cloth, right? Not all of it. But modifying so that I don't stay latched to the side of some very specific dream that younger me wanted. What does that mean? Well, nothing really. It doesn't mean nothing's going to change facing forward except for where I focus my efforts, right? Instead of being in this contest with everybody else, I'm stepping aside. To do that, you got to tell yourself that you're not the same identity you were before you made this change. It's an actual pivot you got to make. Otherwise, you're going to go running back to the thing. That's been the whole problem all these years, right? I can't really go do anything else because I've got to ring a certain bell at the top of this particular rope. That metric all based on other people's successes, the accepted pathway through the stand-up comedy world, into entertainment, into writing, and there's a road, and if you're not on it, nobody knows how to measure it, right? So that's the pivot I've had to make. Now, into what? I don't know exactly. That's what I'm working on. But I remember when I was a smoker. When I say smoker, I smoked. 3 packs a day. It's all you could do. I mean, I started smoking in the break room at my grocery store. I was a stalker at Market Basket. And I was working at this little grocery store. That's the one, I tell you, my best friend's dad hired me. And I showed up one day scruffy. And he said, you got to go shave. And he goes, if you can't shave, I gotta fire you. And I went, what? He goes, so you could buy some razor and some shaving. And then I went in the break room, but all I bought was the razor. Because I didn't have any money. And I had to dry shave. Oh. You let me keep that job though. But I used to go in the break room, and all the dudes in the break room and the back warehouse used to smoke. It's a thing to do. And these dudes were all, I was like 17. No, how old was I? 16, 17, 18, somewhere in there. 16? Yeah. Damn. 16, 17. Because I would for sure sneak out during my senior year and smoke in the parking lot. So yeah, I had to have been about 17. These dudes were older than me. They were cooler than me. I only knew like 9 people in the real world. This was 1993 or so. You couldn't really, have anything to compare it to. These dudes are cool. Maybe one day, if I work really hard, I can grow up and stock groceries like them instead of bagging them like me, right? Like I could see a path up, and then if I'm lucky, I can go manage that grocery store one day. Like this was all that was on the table. So these cool dudes, they're smoking cigarettes. And I remember I was like, man, because I would sit back there and talk to them. To this day, all the most interesting people still smoke. I still go out on the patio of bars or restaurants to hang out with people that smoke. They're way more fun. But I was hanging out with these dudes, and one day I just asked for one. I said, hey, John, let me have a cigarette. You sure, man? He gives me one. And I took like 2 puffs, and my whole head I had to sit down. I was like, what? I was like, you mean I could have these anytime I wanted them? He's like, yeah, man, just buy a pack. I was like, I could buy a pack of 20 of these for $2? I make it $4.25 an hour. I only got to work 30 minutes for 20 of these. And then 15 years later, I was sucking down 3 packs a day. I was buying a carton every 3 days. If you don't smoke, that doesn't mean anything to you. But it's It's the hardest thing in the entire world I've ever done. I've quit other things. I've stopped. Like, I don't really drink anymore. I don't do a lot of stuff, but I have changed a lot of other behaviors. That is the hardest one I think I've ever had to do. Even with help. Because I own the identity, right? I took Shantix to quit. And I read, there's a book, The Easy Way. I still have it on my shelf, and I need to give it back. I believe I give it back. It was 12 years ago. God, more than that, 15 years ago. The Easy Way to Quit Smoking, I think, Alan Carr. It is a little whatever, hokey in some places. But it's sound. If you read it and you're serious about it, in addition to reading it, and you actually want to quit, and maybe there's some medical help. Shantix, I think. What are the other ones? Well, there were some other drugs that were on the table. Shantix is the one a lot of people say almost makes people kill themselves. And when I quit smoking, this was all in like a 6 or 8 month span. I think my dad had died. I'd gone through the breakup with the crazy ex. My comedy club had closed. My cats had died. Like, everything that could happen. My car's transmission dropped. Like, everything that could happen to me happened to me in like 6 months in my whole life. And I was like, I'll quit smoking now. And then they were like, you gotta be careful with those pills, man. They'll give you suicidal thoughts. And I was like, if life hasn't pushed me to the building's edge in the last 6 months, bring it on, pill. So I took it. I took it from a friend who was having crazy suicidal thoughts, taking it. So she sold it to me, and then I took it, and I was just still. They tell you after the first week you're supposed to quit, just try to quit, right? But you can't do that from 3 packs a day. So I was like, man, I'm just gonna take this for the first month, and I'm gonna smoke whenever I want to. I don't care what your instruction manual says. I'm modifying things. That's what I do anyway. When I cook, when I do anything, I'm not really looking at the recipe. Tell me what this could make, and then I'll tell you what I'm going to make with it. What happens with Shantix, it's a nicotine inhibitor. So it latches on to the receptor in the brain that nicotine usually latches onto. It blocks that connection. So essentially, when you take this, even if you're still smoking, your body is not receiving the nicotine. You're weaning yourself off of the chemical dependency, not dependability. That's totally wrong. I believed there was some chemical dependability. It was a dependency. You're off the nicotine after like a month. Now it's just you versus the physical stuff. And that took me another 2 months to shake. But then I smoked that last cigarette. I was in Iraq when I smoked my last cigarette. That's a different story. That's a dark story. I'll tell it at a different time. But the point is that shaking that, getting rid of that identity, required a huge pivot on my part. Because I didn't just smoke. Nah, that wouldn't be me. I smoked. I owned it. I smoked in everything. I smoked where you weren't supposed to smoke. I smoked flagrantly in front of people's faces. Tell me I can't smoke, I'm going to light up too. And I did sometimes. That's how much I smoked. I would have one in the ashtray and I would light another one up. I would go sit at this little cafe, Rayo's in Beaumont, and I would just drink coffee. They would have free refills, and I would just fill up that ashtray over and over and over. That's how I wrote. And if you said something out there on that patio, I'll blow it right at you. Go inside where you're allowed to be. I was such a dick. Every CD cover, I had a cigarette in my hand. My second album, full blown. Every picture in that album. I remember when we did the artwork. The whole photo shoot, me with a cigarette. The back cover has me standing against a fence with a cigarette. There's an overhead shot on the inside notes. There's me on the cover. You can see it right up front. Then, that all intersected with my comedy club facing the smoking ban. I'd just gotten out of my crazy relationship. I had nothing to do with my time. The the city of Beaumont had passed the smoking ban. And they didn't ask anybody about it. There were 7 city council members, and they just voted with passing the ban. Now, this was 2006, back when you could still smoke in most places. It was all just starting to go non-smoking. My little podunk hometown, we weren't supposed to be at the forefront of this. Matter of fact, it's supposed to be one of those cities that's just now changing after the whole world has. Last holdouts. That's what my town was supposed to be. And I owned a bar, comedy club in town. And I thought for sure that if you took smoking away, people were going to drive. Because my hometown was surrounded by a series of little suburbs. And all those little suburbs had bars. So why not just drive 10 minutes up the street to another little village, drink where you can smoke? That's what I was concerned about. So I fought the city. I didn't have anything to do, fresh out of a breakup. This is why you need mentors. You need people in your life to help guide you. This was in a span of my life. I didn't know anything. I was living in Beaumont. I'd never lived anywhere else. I had opened a comedy club, but that was all trickery. That was all money I had saved from the radio station. That was also trickery. I shouldn't have been doing any of this stuff. This was all me trying to figure things out. I wasn't really a broadcaster. I wasn't really an entrepreneur. I wasn't even really a comic at that point. I was just trying to stay alive. Most of that comedy club was just me just funneling money away, that and radio money, while that crazy relationship went on. I knew I needed an out. So I just saving all my little coins. And then when the smoking ban happened, I decided, well, you can't do that. The internet was at its, just right around the .com era. It was everywhere, but it wasn't great. But I used it and then I had to go to the library for some of this stuff still. And I researched all of the city charter and how they can go about making laws like that. I did the whole process, and then I put together a petition process that the city had never done before. So much so that the city clerk didn't know how to do it. Then I had to go learn how to do this thing and then go teach the city clerk a certain element. It was very funny. I put the petition stuff together. I'm on the city doesn't have anything to talk about. It's Beaumont. I'm on the news like 20-something days out of 30. This goes on and on. Newspaper articles are written. That's a whole different story about how I got that done. So I just I had all this energy and nowhere to direct it. That's what I think back on now when I look at like what I've done with the last year with my time and energy. When I knew enough to make real plans that could get me towards a bigger goal. I didn't have any of that. I just had energy. So I was like, I'll fight the city. That's the biggest thing I can punch right now. Let's go. And I collected all these signatures and I got all these bars involved. And this whole campaign, it went on for a month. I don't remember how many thousand signatures we needed. Something stupid. All I wanted to do was get it on the ballot, right? Just let the people vote. If the people say we want to ban, then let it be banned. But the people should speak. That's what I said. I said that because I believed the people were on my side. If the people had not been on my side, I'd have made something else up. I was making it all up. And the whole way, the city's holding press conferences. The city attorney he's in the courthouse and he's making a statement about something regarding my process and what the actual process is, and he's wrong. He doesn't know it, but he's wrong because I just looked all this up. And I'm there, so I got to interrupt the city attorney's press conference, and I made him look like an ass on TV. And then the city clerk messed up a thing. I made her look bad. And then, have I told this story before? When they fined me because when it was all said and done, I gave the city hell, and they kicked my ass, right? Of course, it got banned. I was just a fly in their hair. But because I didn't know how to run anything. I never run a campaign. I never been in charge of shit. Y'all rallying behind some 25-year-old kid. I mean, so the mayor even called me in the middle of all that. Called the comedy club. Can I speak to Mr. Ham? Speaking. Yeah, this is Mayor Guy Goodson. Listen, man, do you just not have anything else to do? And I said, no, sir, I don't. I really don't. So we took it all the way to the end. And then at the very end, when it was all done, they came into my club while I was on the road, and they wrote a ticket to my brother, or the manager at the time. I don't know who was there that night, for having ashes and smoking paraphernalia in the club. And that's when I ended up going down to the courthouse, and I called the press conference and pointed out that the courthouse had ashtrays in the seats outside of their courtroom, and if they were going to fine me for having ashtrays and smoking paraphernalia in my club, then they were going to have to fine themselves for having the same stuff still in their building. I've never had more fun than steer wrestling that city for that little stretch. And in hindsight, I was a punk. I had no business doing any of the stuff I was doing. You need mentors for that very reason. To just pivot your nervous and excitable energy a positive direction. Someone had told me, man, just write a book. I didn't have shit to say back then, but I could have gotten ahead of that first book. I could have written Stand Up with Intent back then instead of just using it as a way to hang out with my drunk friends. It's all this stuff they don't tell you. But the important thing out of that is that whole identity of smoker that I wore for so long, so proudly, so loudly, was, it turns out, it was malleable. Something I could change, something I could rearrange and put on a different hat if I wanted to. And it wasn't the end of the world. Oh my God. I went through the same thing with drinking. Going out 6 nights a week. My entire sleep schedule centered around it. Waking up at noon or 1. Staying up till 4. That was my life. That had to be my life because that was the ecosystem I was existing in. I was so couldn't let that go. I think the pandemic forced that. And in being able to sit with it for a minute, I got over it all. It's so weird how that works. Anyway, I say all that to say, whatever it is you're convinced that you are, maybe you're not. Maybe you don't have to be. Maybe you can go in the closet and put on a different outfit and walk out in the street and see that nobody laughs at you. I don't know. That's where I am in my world. I am trying to get ready for this show, so we will probably leave this here. I have a Discord server that I just launched. It is a kindred spirit to this podcast. It is a place if you want current stuff, you want to help share the word and put me on Reddit or post clips from the special when they're out. Oh, that's there. There's links to everything if you need to go, like a one-stop shop for all things me. But I also want it to be a bit of a creative playground. I'm going to put the link down in the show notes. You are free to click it and join it. If you cannot, for whatever reason, send me a message on some platform. I'll send you a personal invite. Let's get you in there. I want people who are working on things, people who are thinking about things, people who have fun ideas and want to talk about them with other people. It's the Slade Ham Experiment on Discord. I welcome you to join me, especially you guys. We're a small family. I don't think anybody who watches or listens to this show would be out of place there. January 10th, Houston Improv. That's what's most important. That would be later today if you're watching this when it comes out. I should release this a day early just for promotional reasons, but I'm not gonna because I stay on schedule, damn it, except for last week when I put it up a day early. But it's because I thought it was Wednesday and not Tuesday, but that's because my brain was discombobulated because the whole New Year's Eve, New Year's Day, Monday, Sunday, Saturday brain thing. So Wednesday it shall be. Come see me if you get this. I would love to see you there or the Discord or wherever else you may be on the internet. There will be a lot of me in 2024. I wish you well, and I will see you on another episode of the Slade Ham Experiment.